Hey guys, so in real life, I just finished filming that video about the books that I put up last week. And now I'm about to film this video that you're about to see right now about this book. Oops, it was upside down. This book that I ranted and raved about in the last video that is just changing my life every single day. I'm not even finished reading this book, and it's changing my life like this seriously that I feel like I need to share it with the entire internet. That's how seriously good this book is. So if you guys are here because you're interested in hearing about this book and going through this journey with me, stay tuned. If you are interested in continuing this journey, if you want to keep looking at this book with me, definitely subscribe and hit the bell, because then you'll be notified whenever I put these videos up. Also, you could follow me on my social media, because then I'll probably also notify you. But that one's probably not as safe because I don't often tell my social media when I'm putting up videos. So remember that one, okay? You might want to just subscribe. I'm nervous to do this because I just feel like it's honestly okay, I'm gonna be honest. I feel like I'm so nerdy and dorky, so I kind of feel nervous to talk about this on camera because I wonder if anybody else is gonna be interested in it. And I tell you guys this all the time, but that's really how I feel about everything that I do. I really wonder if other people will be interested in it or not. But I'm trying to reach out on new limbs and just do shit, so we're gonna find out if anyone else wants to read this book with me. Like I said in the last video, this book uses stories, fairy tale stories, to relate to women's culture and help them learn deeper soul lessons about themselves. The first story in this book is called, and forgive me if I butcher this, I am of no Latin descent, Yayoba or La Yoba. There is an old woman who lives in a hidden place that everyone knows in their souls, but few have ever seen. As in the fairy tales of Eastern Europe, she seems to wait for lost or wandering people and seekers to come to her place. She is circumspect, often hairy, always fat, and especially wishes to evade most company. She is both a crower and a cackler, generally having more animal sounds than human ones. I might say she lives among the rotten granite slopes of Terra Humara Indian Territory, or that she is buried outside Phoenix near a well. Perhaps she will be seen traveling south to Monte Alban in a burnt-out car with the back window shot out. Or maybe she will be spotted by the highway near El Paso, or riding shotgun with truckers to Morelia, Mexico, or walking to market above Oaxaca, with strangely formed bows of firewood on her back. She calls herself by many names: La Huesera, Bone Woman; La Trapera, the Gatherer; La Loba, Wolf Woman. The sole work of La Loba is the collecting of bones. She collects and preserves especially that which is in danger of being lost to the world. Her cave is filled with the bones of all manner of desert creatures: the deer, the rattlesnake, the crow. But her specialty is wolves. She creeps and crawls and sifts through the montañas, mountains, and the arroyos, dry riverbeds, looking for wolf bones. And when she has assembled an entire skeleton, when the last bone is in place and the beautiful white sculpture of the creature is laid out before her, she sits by the fire and thinks about what song she will sing. And when she is sure, she stands over the criatura, raises her arms over it, and sings out. That is when the rib bones and the leg bones of the wolf begin to flesh out and the creature becomes furred. La Loba sings some more, and more of the creature comes into being. Its tail curls upward, shaggy and strong. And La Loba sings more, and the wolf creature begins to breathe. And still, La Loba sings so deeply that the floor of the desert shakes, and she sings, and the wolf opens its eyes, leaps up, and runs away down the canyon. Somewhere in its running, whether by the speed of its running or by splashing its way into a river, or by way of a ray of sunlight or moonlight hitting it right in the side, the wolf is suddenly transformed into a laughing woman who runs free toward the horizon. So remember, if you wander the desert and it is near sundown, and you are perhaps a little bit lost and certainly tired, that you are lucky, for La Loba may take a liking to you and show you something of the soul. I love that story. So, La Loba is actually a miracle story. It's a resurrection story. The promise of the story is that if we sing the songs of our souls, we can call our wild souls back into existence. The book says specifically about singing. To sing means to use the soul voice. It means to say on the breath the truth of one's power and one's need, to breathe soul over the thing that is ailing or in need of restoration. This is done by descending into the deepest mood of great love and feeling, till one's desire for relationship with the wildish self overflows. Then, to speak one's soul from that frame of mind. That is singing over the bones. We cannot make the mistake of attempting to elicit this great feeling of love from a lover. For this woman's labor of finding and singing the creation hymn is a solitary work, a work carried out in the desert of the psyche. Basically, it's just saying that what it means about singing to the soul, and even, I think, real singing, period, but just any truth speaking to the soul is really like a solitary work, and really what you need to do in order to connect with your soul again and to connect with your wild self. You have to be able to sing your truth to your soul again and lullaby it back to life. I personally, with reading this book, like to think of the wild woman as the kind of perfect example of the instinctual perfection that we want to have. Kind of like just what we instinctually, intuitively want to be as perfection, not on a societal level, not on a superficial level. And I think that that's different for everybody. Everybody has a different version of what they really want to be if they were living in true peace and true harmony and true balance. But I think that that wild woman within us, that is what represents that. Living in complete, true harmony, peace, and balance in all of our cycles of life. And the promise of La Loba is that we can connect back to that wild woman deeper inside. And the story of La Loba is to remind us that we can do that, and what it takes to do that is deep connection to our spirit, and then what it takes to get that deep connection is solitude and deep reflection. If you notice La Loba in the story, before she begins singing, it takes her a while to come up with what song she's going to sing. That is real, like that's life. It takes us a while to come up with the song that our soul needs, and it's going to be different for every person, but it is a completely essential and also solitary job that we must do to come to ourselves. The cave of La Loba, the place where she had all of the desert bones of just different like animals that she would help, represents solitude as a place in our soul where things of the psyche, things of our past in our soul can be revived and brought new again, and or killed if need be. There's like La Loba had the cave, the physical cave, but there's also a physical cave in our own mind. There's a physical place in our own mind that we can get to connect with what's deeply going on. In the book, I believe this is the psychiatrist, I'm not actually sure, I probably should know that, but his name is Jung. She refers back to him quite often, so I'm guessing he's like a famous psychiatrist or psychologist or something. But she said that Jung she says that Jung called it variously the collective unconscious, the objective psyche, and the psychoid unconscious, referring to a more ineffable layer of the former. He thought of the latter as a place where the biological and psychological worlds share headwaters, where biology and psychology might mingle with and influence one another. Throughout human memory, this place is the place where visitations, miracles, imaginations, inspirations, and healings of all nature occur. Basically, from what I understand from my perspective, this is basically connecting with the spiritual realm. This is connecting with that realm that you go into when you're deeply praying, when you're deeply connecting to God, and when you're in the spiritual realm, when you're really picking up on higher powers that don't exist on this earth. And that is the only time that you're able to like experience true transformation. True miracles come out of that time. True imaginations, just like it says, true healing. All of that comes out of that place where you're deeply connected to your spirit and your soul at once. And that's like a physical place within our spirits and within ourselves. So it's an intangible physical place. A little bit complicated, but hopefully you guys are sticking with me. But the importance of this cave of solitude, this is where we have to go in order to find that connection to our spirits and our souls. But Estes warns us in the book not to get too attached to this place of connection. And that's so true in just life in general. We can't be too attached to the spiritual realm because we can't exist in the spiritual realm yet. So we have to be able to connect and live on this earth that we live on. There's another story that she shares in that kind of like speaks on this. It's called the 4 Rabbinim. One night, 4 Rabbinim were visited by an angel who awakened them and carried them to the 7th vault of the 7th heaven. There they beheld the sacred wheel of Ezekiel. Somewhere in the descent from paradise to earth, one rabbi, having seen such splendor, lost his mind and wandered frothing and foaming until the end of his days. The second rabbi was extremely cynical. "Oh, I just dreamed Ezekiel's wheel. That was all. Nothing really happened." The third rabbi carried on and on about what he had seen, for he was totally obsessed. He lectured and would not stop with how it was all constructed and what it all meant, and in this way he went astray and betrayed his faith. The fourth rabbi, who was a poet, took a paper in hand, a reed, and sat near the window, writing song after song, praising the evening dove, his daughter in her cradle, and all the stars in the sky. And he lived his life better than before. Ooh, that shit's deep. That story like really hit me when I read it, because at the time that I read this, I was just kind of coming into my faith of believing in Jesus again. I believed in Jesus when I was a kid, but like I kind of lost that as I got older. And then around, when I was like 20 and I got divorced and I was just so lost in my life, I came back to Jesus, and that was due to kind of the influence of my boyfriend. He's very strongly believes in Jesus and had been on a very strong spiritual walk for the past 2 years. We weren't yet dating when I came to Jesus, but we were best friends, and being around him, and then my other best friend who also was strongly believing in Jesus, and they were just talking about Jesus a lot, and they were just exemplifying this type of faith is the only way that I can describe it in life, and just confidence in themselves that I just had never really seen before. And I just have to say, like, at the time I was just very inspired by and admirable, or I don't know the word for that, but like I was just very admiring the fact that like my boyfriend specifically, he had such a confidence in himself, and he attributed it all to Jesus. Like he said that he used to be shy, and He was never that confident, you know, but he just really went through a period of really connecting to God, really gaining a relationship with God, and he's just changed. It changed his whole life. I really connected with that, but coming into my faith, I definitely was just very, very overzealous. I wanted to connect with God so deeply. And I don't feel bad at all for that time. I think it was necessary for the time, because there are cycles of life. We all go through cycles of life. But when I read this at the time, it was very like pinpoint on my life, because it was like I was starting to feel like it wasn't necessarily that I felt like I was going overzealously, but what happened is I started to feel like the first rabbi. I kind of felt like Earth is so imperfect, and there's so much shit here, and there's so much promise of blessing and amazingness in heaven. Why am I on Earth? Why do I have to be here? Why do I have to go through all this stuff? I was almost suicidal in a way. Isn't that crazy? Like, the idea that so much beautifulness existed made me want to be past this. And I had that idea because I figured that if a God made this earth, and it's as beautiful as it is, with its tainted side, like, because we all know this earth is freaking gorgeous, but it also has such a strong stuff that's so terrible about it. So I thought that if there was a God that created this amazing, perfect earth, and then he put us here, and we have to learn, and it's not perfect because the devil came here and blah, 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 blah. Like, can you imagine how amazing heaven would be if even he claims that that's perfect? Like, if I could think that this earth is perfect, what is heaven like? Like, that's what I was thinking. Like, I was like, I don't even want to know what life on earth is like, because who cares? Like, I'm trying to be with my Father, try to figure out how I can die without committing a sin, so therefore I can just be up in heaven with him, because it sounds way cooler than down here. And I gotta be honest, that is definitely where my head was for a minute. But like, this part of the book kind of taught me a better way of thinking about it. In the book, Jung actually, again, explains kind of the moral obligation and the reason why you can't like just get stuck in that spiritual realm of connection to God and your soul and everything. He says, Jung cautions in his magnificent essay, The Transcendent Function, that some persons in their pursuit of self will over-aestheticize God or the self-experience, and some will undervalue it, some will overvalue it, and some who are not ready for it will be injured by it. But still others will find their way to what Jung called the moral obligation, to live out and to express what one has learned in the descent or ascent to the wild self. That's so true. Like, you really do. Like, I think, like, it just speaks to me that the obligation of our life, if we are able to truly appreciate the spiritual self and connect with that, then the obligation of living in this mundane world is to bring that into this world and to express it in this world, and to spend our entire lives figuring out more ways of expressing it and sharing it with this world through creative acts such as anything, singing, dancing, videos, books, blah, 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 blah. The purpose is to live out the beauty, to praise God or whatever you worship by honoring him with the acts that he's given to our souls, with the vision that he's given to our souls, and by us using that free willpower that he gave us and moving on it and doing on it while we're on this earth. The vision that he creates within our souls, we're only free to create if we can free ourselves to listen to our wild souls and to listen to what he's been telling us, to what we're supposed to be doing. This is the purpose of our lives, to work on connecting with our wild souls in order to create the vision that we're given of this world and of this kingdom. In order to do that, we have to practice, and we have to do things of creativity and all of that. And so this is what the book says kind of about this. It says, this is our meditation practice as women, calling back the dead and dismembered aspects of our lives, calling back the dead and dismembered aspects of life itself. The one who recreates from that which has died is always a double-sided archetype. The creation mother is always also the death mother, and vice versa. Because of this dual nature or double tasking, the great work before us is to learn to understand what around or about us and what within us must live and what must die. Our work is to apprehend the timing of both, to allow what must die to die and what must live to live. The reason why this is the meditation practice of women is actually also in the book. It's from this saying in Mexico called La luz de la vida, the light of life, which they say la luz de la vida is in los ovarios, which is in woman's ovaries, where all the seed stock is laid down before she is even born. Basically, this is to say that because women create life, that this is our purpose. We are born with this purpose. This is also a purpose that men have to fulfill as well, because men also create life, but men can come into this later in their life when they connect with that aspect of their life, whereas women, because of just the way that we are and our bodies work and stuff like that, it's kind of just an innate thing that we just are constantly doing, which is meditating on this practice of life and death and life, about everything. And because our seed is in los ovarios, and because that light of life is in our ovaries, to be connected and in touch with that seed and that light in our ovaries is to actually have the foundation of life, and then therefore be able to live out the cycles, the natural cycles of womanhood, of life. When something's out of whack, we can check back with our souls, with our seed, to find out what's wrong. But without connection to our seed, many women will feel restless, which is what the book talks about. There's been many times that I felt like this personally over my life. I honestly think that up until around when I came to this journey of just self-discovery, I constantly went in these cycles because I didn't feel justified to validate my own cycles. I was constantly feeling feeling bad for having my normal cycles, for going through times when I wanted to do certain things, times when I didn't. And I think that the way that manifests is that you come to a state where you're in a picture perfect, maybe by the writing you should be perfectly fine, there's nothing wrong per se with your life, but you feel this way. And I hear this all the time. So many people say this all the time, and they think it's not a problem. They feel not bad, but not good. That is restlessness. That's when you aren't connected to your real soul, because in all times in our life, we should feel great. At all times in our life, we should feel invigorated and ready to go, unless we are resting, in which case we should be invigorated and ready to rest. So really, there's no excuse for ever feeling just and that feeling of just really means that you're not connected to your deep soul. We're all born with the instincts of what we should be doing, And we all know what those are at every single moment. The only problem is that when we ignore them on a regular basis, they start getting quieter and quieter. And it's not that they're not there, but it's that we can't hear them eventually. And so that's where that restlessness comes from, where we just don't know what it is, but there's something wrong. It's just like that anxiety feeling where you're not necessarily sick, but your body's basically telling you, I don't know what you should be doing, but you shouldn't be doing this. We have to be able to connect with our own wild selves and connect with the wild truth within us and just live out our lives in authenticity. The self must have freedom to move, to speak, to be angry, and to create. The self is durable, resilient, and possesses high intuition. It is a self which is knowledgeable in the spiritual dealings of death and birth. However, living out our lives in authenticity does not mean the opposite extreme. It doesn't mean we suddenly have to become wild. One of the most glorious parts of being women is how we are able to adapt to our circumstances around us while still being able to express our deep and wild selves within. It's literally imperative for us to stay connected to whatever that is, deep, wild self within, for us to feel the freedom to move, to talk, to act, to dance, to shout, to be crazy, to pout, to be angry, whatever we need to do. We have to actually feel that freedom to live out our truth. And as long as we feel that freedom, we can continue our meditation practice of knowing what in the world is ready to live and what is ready to die. And that act of being wild is not the same for any one of us. My acts of wild self are probably way different than yours. My acts of wild self is sitting here right now making this YouTube video, because this YouTube video doesn't do anything for my life aside from fulfill my soul, honestly, putting out this content. Making drawings is an act to call your wild soul back. Singing is an act. Dancing is an act. Anything, even just sitting by yourself could be an act. Maybe for you, doing math problems is an act. But there are acts that you know, and only you know, call back your spirit and call your spirit to your soul and connect you with your soul. There's a quote in the book that I want to read with you. So this is from Estes to you. She says, "So I say to you with affection, imagistically, be you a black wolf, a northern gray, a southern red, or an Arctic white, you are the quintessential, instinctual creatura. Although some might really prefer you behave yourself and not climb all over the furniture in joy or all over people in welcome, do it anyway. Some will draw back from you in fear or disgust. Your lover, however, will cherish this new aspect of you, if he or she be the right lover for you. Some people will not like it if you take a sniff at everything to see what it is. And for heaven's sake, no lying on your back with your feet in the air. Bad girl, bad wolf, bad dog. Right? Wrong. Go ahead, enjoy yourself." Clarissa Pinkola Estes is like auntie. She's giving us all freedom to just be us, because I think that that's what so many women need. I believe this quote is by Michelle Obama. I'm pretty sure it's by Michelle Obama, but I don't know the whole quote. But she basically said that we should all be living out loud. And I be thinking about that all the time. I have Michelle Obama's voice in my head saying, "Live out loud," in my head. And that's the truth, because we should be living out loud. We should be doing whatever it is in our hearts is right, because we know what it is. We know instinctually what we should be doing. We know when we have a want that we want to do that we shouldn't do, so we don't. But we also know when we have wants that we should do and we don't, just because other people don't want us to. And that is wrong. We shouldn't be doing that. We need to just do. Live freely, be free. Run like a wolf, run with the wolves. So, to finish this off, there are some questions in the book that you can ask to kind of decide on one's true song. That's what she says. And it's kind of like just deciding how to connect to your deep soul. And so I wanted to say these questions, and then you can ask yourself, and then that way you can connect with your soul voice too. So this says, what has happened to my soul voice? What are the buried bones of my life? In what condition is my relationship to the instinctual self? When was the last time I ran free? How do I make life come alive again? Where has La Loba gone to? And then finally, the last phrase in the book is, you wish for psychoanalytic advice? Go gather bones. If you're looking for yourself, if you know that you've lost connection to yourself, if you know that you have been following what everybody else wants you to do for way too long, and you know that that is not what your heart needs to be doing, and you can feel the fact that you don't know where you're supposed to be, go gather bones. Go sing to your soul and connect with your wild self. And if you feel that way, I am here too. I felt that way for a long time, and then finally I got tired of it, and now I spent some months doing it on my own, but I realized that I wasn't the only one who felt that way. And now I am simply here to continue to share how I got to this place, and as much as I possibly can about where I am, and as much as I can about where I'm going and as I'm getting there. I really think that this is like the most important thing that you can do to just reconnect to your wild self. And I hope that someone out there really heard this video, really understood what it was talking about, and will take the steps to go reconnect to themselves, to take that solitude and to sing to their souls. That's the end of this video. I hope you guys enjoyed. Please leave me a comment down below if you did enjoy, and let me know if you're interested in the next chapter, because I really would like to put it out there. So if you guys want to see that, let me know, because I definitely will share it with you. Please like this video if you liked it also, because that lets me know that you guys are enjoying this video, and subscribe also if you did like this video and you want to see more like it, because hopefully you guys enjoy this, and I'll hopefully be putting up more of the chapters of this book, and maybe even sharing other books too. Who knows what we have in store, we'll see. But I love you guys so much. I make a new video next Saturday, so I will see you guys on Saturday. Follow me on all my social media so that we can keep up with each other until next Saturday. And yeah, I think that's it. I love you guys so much. Bye.